the fourth agreed to question here then. Can you name a policy position from the other side that you think has merit or that you've reconsidered?
Yeah, so I have two policy. I've got one economic and one social policy. I serve on the Lyon County Corn and Soybean Growers Board, and I live on a farm north of Marshall. And I think we need to have, as Governor Walz said on a TV interview last week, I think we need to have open markets in terms of our soybean and our ag economy. We need to have open markets. We need to let capitalism work, and we need to let the free economy do its job. That being said, I looked at the markets. I also work for the second largest ag bank in the state of Minnesota, so it helps being in agriculture. The soybean prices that everyone's talking about that is crippling the farmers is at a price of $10.20 a bushel right now. 1 year ago, in October of 2024, when President Biden was in office, it was at $10.26 a bushel, 6 cents higher. So we need to look at markets in terms of China. You know, China has been getting their grain. When they can't get it from one country, what do? You do a substitute. You go to a next country. And they've been going to Brazil and getting their ag products for many years now. Brazil still has thousands of acres of land that they can cut down the rainforest on and start planting crops. So, you know, we have to look at this, and they've been doing this for 20 years under Democrat and Republican presidents. It's just been expanding. The second issue that I have of a social issue is I consider myself to be pro-life. I do not believe that the death penalty should be mandated by the federal government, where you can say, oh, there's a criminal who's out on the street, we need to kill him. You know, I can see some exceptions to the death penalty for super violent, super, you know, horrible people, but by and large, I do not believe in the death penalty as a pro-life person.
It's actually funny that you just brought that up, because that's what I was going to address. I actually do believe in the death penalty. Yeah, funny. I am actually for that, because if there are some people who if you are just so mentally insane and you are going to hurt people, I don't think it's safe for you to be around some people sometimes. And you know, and this might be a little controversial, but I also think that if you are a child molester, that might also be the route for you to go down. So yeah, that's actually something I disagree. But the thing about that is, I think if you are going to have the death penalty, you should not sit on death row for 10 to 20 years. I think, you know, if you have been convicted, it should happen a little sooner than that. So.
For me, I just like to, I see more like when it comes to like specific policy. I'm gonna be honest.
You haven't spoken yet. Did you want to say something first? You've kind of been doing it.
That's yeah.
You're good?
I was gonna say, I saw him wave his hand, so I was like, I'm assuming he doesn't have anything.
Okay, go ahead.
But I mean, I can agree with kind of more like where with Republicans when they say that groceries are too expensive and stuff like that, and I can agree that the government's not working like it should, and I can agree with that kind of frustration. But when it comes to like specific policies, there's nothing that really comes to mind where I'm like, oh, let's go with the Republicans on that one. That's just my personal outlook. I'm not against working across party lines, but that comes at more of a individual level. And I do think it's kind of really funny that I agree with President Trump on one thing, and at least when he was campaigning, and that we should release the Epstein files. I do think that's something that we should be for. So yeah, it was crazy. I agreed with President Trump on something. Let's release the Epstein files.
I do have one quick thing to add. I think an overall issue with government that used to be more common is a lot of bipartisan people crossing party lines, and people that do cross party lines often don't last very long anymore in Senate situations. They get, you know, on headlines, and people just don't like it. They get voted out, whatever. So I think that's healthy for a democracy, is having people that are from both sides, not super divided. Like right now with the government shutdown, it's very thin lines. No one's crossing party lines, so.
I was just gonna kind of like go on that government shutdown. First, before we go on to the government shutdown, I do think politics has become more polarizing in the current political climate. So I guess that's one thing I can agree on, is that I think being able to work across party lines is something that we should not be against. But I do think that when you go across party lines and that goes against your base, one kind of thing that I'm thinking about was with the one that comes to mind is John Fetterman. He's usually a lot on Republican issues, and I know his voters are not terribly excited with that. So if he gets primaried, I think he might end up losing.